Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller, a quiet space where we gently explore the science of night and the soft wonders that live within the human mind. Tonight, we explore something curious and almost magical, something that happens to nearly all of us. We dream vivid, colorful, emotional stories, and yet, when the morning light touches our eyes, those dreams begin to fade away like mist disappearing in the sun. Why do we forget our dreams so quickly? What happens in our brain that allows entire dream worlds to vanish within just moments of waking? Before we begin, I'd love to know where you are in the world tonight and what time it is. As you drift into this sleepy exploration, type it gently in the comments below. I always enjoy reading where our little community of dreamers is listening from, and if you enjoy these bedtime discoveries, please take a quiet moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps our calm, sleepy family grow. And it means I can bring you even more stories from the soft edge of science. As night falls and your eyelids grow heavy, the mind begins its slow descent into the deeper waters of sleep. And somewhere within those silent depths, dreams begin to appear. They rise gently, like bubbles from an unseen ocean floor, forming shapes, faces, and stories. Out of pure thought and memory, you walk through these worlds, believing them completely until the first hint of morning light touches your skin. And then, as if by magic, they begin to fade. A moment ago, you were standing in a forest of stars. You could feel the cold air. You could hear your own footsteps. But now, those images dissolve, leaving behind nothing but a soft ache of forgetting. It happens so naturally, so consistently, that we hardly notice how strange it truly is. We spend hours each night dreaming, yet within seconds of waking, those experiences vanish completely. Why does that happen? Why can we remember what we had for dinner days ago, but not the dream we were fully living only moments before? The phenomenon is universal. From the smallest child to the oldest soul, we all share this quiet mystery. Scientists have called it dream amnesia, a kind of natural forgetting that occurs almost instantly after awakening. But the truth is softer than that. It's not simply that dreams are erased. It's that they belong to a world our waking minds were never meant to fully hold on to. Our brains exist in different modes, one for consciousness and one for dreaming. And as the sun rises, we switch modes, just like changing channels on an old radio. When that happens, the dream world drifts out of range, its signals fading until only silence remains. Have you ever had a dream so vivid that you swore you'd never forget it? Maybe it was beautiful, maybe it was frightening, and yet an hour later, it became nothing more than fragments, a feeling, a face, a blur. That soft fading is not failure. It's not your memory being weak. It's the design of the mind itself, gentle, protective, deliberate. Dreams are delicate. They are made of emotions, fragments of thought, bits of memory rearranged in strange and poetic ways. And when the mind wakes, the logical world begins to rebuild its structure, and the dream, being fluid, cannot survive that rigid light. Just like morning mist disappearing in the sun, our dreams melt into wakefulness, not destroyed, not gone forever, but dissolved back into the ocean of the unconscious. If you close your eyes right now and try to remember a dream from last night, you might catch flashes, colors, sounds, sensations, but they'll slip through your fingers like water. The more you try to hold on, the faster they fade. And perhaps that's exactly how it's meant to be, because dreaming is not just a story your brain tells at night. It's a way of thinking that isn't meant to last in daylight, a world that only exists while you're asleep enough to believe in it. Scientists have spent decades trying to understand this mysterious fading of dreams. Brain scans, sleep labs, and electroencephalograms, they all tell a fascinating story. When you dream, your brain lights up with activity. The visual cortex, the limbic system, even the emotional centers, all become alive and vivid. You see, during a dream, your brain doesn't just imagine, it experiences. The same regions that process reality are active in a dream. You see with your mind, you feel with your heart, and for those few moments, it's as real as anything you've ever lived. But something unusual happens when you wake. That vivid activation collapses almost instantly. The patterns that supported your dream lose synchronization, and the information is never stored in long-term memory. Why? Because the machinery of memory is different while you sleep. When you're awake, your hippocampus, the brain's memory librarian, takes new experiences and files them neatly into storage. But during REM sleep, that librarian takes a rest. It allows imagination to flow freely, without the structure of recording. It's as if the brain says, let the dream exist, but don't make it permanent. This soft forgetting might be the brain's way of keeping the boundaries between worlds clear. If every dream were remembered perfectly, we might lose our sense of what is real and what is not. We'd wake up haunted by dozens of lives, confused by countless imaginary experiences. So, nature chose a gentler path, to let the dream live only as long as it needs to let it leave behind only a feeling, a trace, a whisper. And yet, sometimes the whisper is enough. A dream might nudge you toward a decision, or give you a strange sense of peace. Even when forgotten, its echo lingers deep in your emotions. There's an old saying in dream psychology: dreams never truly disappear, they only go quiet. And in a way, every forgotten dream is still inside you, shaping thoughts, emotions, and the small, mysterious ways you see the world. Think of it like rain falling on the soil. The drops may vanish quickly, but their water seeps beneath the surface, nourishing something unseen. So when you forget a dream, you're not losing something. You're allowing it to sink deeper into that quiet, fertile part of your mind, where imagination and reality softly blend. If you lie still after waking, sometimes you can hold on to a dream for a few extra breaths. Close your eyes, keep your mind calm, and the images might drift back for a moment. Faces, colors, echoes of a place that feels almost familiar, but then they fade again. And maybe that fading is beautiful in its own way. Forgetting our dreams reminds us that the human mind is not meant to capture everything. It's designed to flow, to move between worlds, to remember just enough to live, and forget just enough to stay sane. There's poetry in that. Each morning as you wake, you cross a gentle border, leaving behind one world to re-enter another. You can't bring everything with you, but the feeling remains, like the warmth of a candle long after it's been blown out. And that warmth is what dreams truly leave behind. They remind us that we are not machines of memory, but living minds that drift, feel, and imagine. We are not meant to hold on to every vision, only to remember that we are capable of wonder. So the next time you wake and realize your dream has vanished, don't be disappointed. Smile softly And know that your mind has already carried its lesson inside you. Dreams fade, not because they are meaningless, but because they are sacred, fleeting glimpses into the hidden creativity of your mind. They are meant to be felt, not archived, to be experienced, not possessed. Like whispers from the ocean's depth, they visit us and then return home. So let them go gratefully, peacefully, lovingly, because in the quiet space they leave behind, you'll find something just as beautiful, the stillness of waking consciousness, and the gentle awareness that you are alive. When night arrives and your body begins to loosen its grip on the day, you gently drift through layers of sleep. At first, the world grows dim, thoughts slow down, breathing deepens, and your muscles grow heavy. This is the early phase of rest. Quiet, steady, peaceful. But as the night continues, something begins to stir deep inside your mind. The calm waters ripple, and the brain, though resting, begins to light up again. This is REM sleep, short for rapid eye movement. It's during this stage that dreams begin to bloom behind your closed eyelids. Your eyes dart and flicker in tiny bursts, as if they're watching something unfold, a movie being projected on the walls of your imagination. Your body, however, remains still, your muscles locked in a gentle paralysis. It's as though the brain has pressed pause on the body to protect it from acting out the stories it's creating. And within the stillness, the mind becomes a painter. It takes memories, sensations, and emotions and begins to mix them like colors on a palette. A face from childhood, a place you've never been, a sound that feels familiar but strange, all come together into something vivid, emotional, and deeply personal. It's almost like your brain is dreaming itself alive, rehearsing emotions, exploring possibilities, and weaving narratives made from fragments of your own experience. Scientists sometimes call REM sleep the theater of the mind, because in this stage, the brain is almost as active as when you're fully awake. But the rules are different. Logic fades, time stretches, and the mind is free to explore without consequence. It's no wonder, then, that dreams feel so real. Your sensory areas, the same ones that perceive the world by day, are alive and glowing by night. Your brain isn't just imagining a sight or sound, it's creating them. This truly is where dreams are born, not in the stars above us, but in the electrical constellations of our own neurons, firing in perfect, mysterious harmony. If you could peek inside your brain during REM sleep, you'd see a breathtaking dance of light and energy. Electrodes placed on the scalp, measuring the brain's tiny electrical rhythms, would show a pattern unlike any other stage of sleep. Fast, irregular waves, almost identical to those seen in waking life. Your limbic system, the region that governs emotion, memory, and instinct, is glowing with activity. It's what makes dreams feel powerful, emotional, dramatic, sometimes even overwhelming. Meanwhile, the visual cortex at the back of your head is firing as though you're truly seeing the world. Yet your eyes remain closed, and the world around you is silent. So what you're seeing is the mind itself, creating an internal world so vivid that your body reacts as if it were real. You might feel fear, and your heartbeat rises. You might feel love, and your chest fills with warmth. The brain doesn't distinguish between dream and reality here. To it, both are real experiences. But the most curious part is that during all this activity, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic and critical thinking, is mostly silent. That's why dreams don't always make sense. Why the sky might be purple, why doors lead to oceans, why people change faces mid-conversation. Your rational mind isn't checking for consistency. It's simply observing the story unfold. And the story is being written by your deeper emotional mind, the subconscious self that rarely speaks during the day. Some scientists believe REM sleep is the brain's natural emotional therapy, a safe space where it can reprocess memories, soften painful experiences, and release emotional tension through symbolic stories. You might not remember the dream itself, but your mind remembers the healing. It's like washing away the emotional dust of the day so that when you wake, you feel lighter, calmer, more balanced. That's why, after a full night's sleep, even a difficult yesterday feels a little easier to carry, because somewhere in the night, your dreaming mind did the quiet work of mending what you couldn't fix while awake. Through the night, your sleep follows a rhythm, a series of gentle cycles, each about 90 minutes long that in each cycle. You drift from light sleep to deep restorative sleep, and then rise again into REM. At first, REM lasts only a few minutes, but as the night deepens, each REM period grows longer and more vivid, like waves that build toward a soft, glowing tide before dawn. By the final hours of the night, you might spend 30, even 40 minutes in a single REM dream. That's when the most powerful, emotional dreams occur, the ones that stay with you, even if you can't quite recall the details. And yet, despite its beauty, REM sleep is fragile. A sudden noise, a bright light, an alarm, can tear you out of it instantly, leaving your dream unfinished, like a melody cut off mid-note. That's why gentle awakenings, soft morning light, quiet environments help the dreamer wake more peacefully. It allows your mind to carry a faint memory across the bridge of waking. In this timeless rhythm of REM and deep sleep, your brain repairs itself, reorganizes memories, and restores emotional balance. Dreaming, in many ways, is the brain's way of remembering who you are, not through logic, but through feeling. The REM stage connects your deepest memories with the quiet creativity of your unconscious. It lets you explore what you fear, what you long for, and what you've forgotten. Every night, this mysterious cycle repeats. A silent concert performed in the darkness. Your body rests, but your mind travels through galaxies of thought. And when morning comes, you return with a lighter heart, a soothed soul, and just enough memory to know that something beautiful happened while you slept. That is the miracle of REM sleep, the birthplace of dreams, the hidden world your mind returns to again and again each night. Imagine your mind as a vast, glowing landscape, alive with billions of tiny lights, each one pulsing softly, communicating, connecting, creating. This is your brain, a living sea of activity, where thoughts are waves and emotions are tides. Now imagine that within this ocean, tiny messengers are constantly moving, delivering signals between cells, translating thoughts into feelings, and feelings into dreams. These messengers are called neurotransmitters, and they're the silent musicians of your mental symphony. When you fall asleep, the orchestra doesn't stop. It simply changes its rhythm. By day, your mind plays a fast, bright melody, full of energy, logic, and focus. But at night, the tempo slows, the tones deepen, and new instruments begin to play. Two of these stand out. In the mystery of dreaming and forgetting, norepinephrine and acetylcholine. They may sound technical, but think of them as partners in a delicate dance. One keeps your brain alert and organized. The other opens a door to imagination. When you're awake, norepinephrine flows freely. It sharpens attention, builds memory, and keeps your thoughts clear and linear. It's what helps you remember a conversation or focus on reading a page. But when you begin to dream, this chemical fades away. Its melody softens almost to silence. In its place, acetylcholine rises, a subtler, dreamlike tone, flooding your brain with color and emotion. This shift is like the lights dimming in a theater. As the play begins, the audience quiets, and the dream world takes the stage. Without norepinephrine's structure, the dream no longer needs logic. It can twist, flow, bend, and dissolve. And with acetylcholine's creative energy, the scenes of the dream become vivid, alive, and emotional. You might not remember them when you wake, but while they're happening, they feel as real as life itself. So, in a sense, these two chemicals write the script of the night. One steps back to let chaos bloom. The other paints that chaos into something beautiful. It's a chemistry of mystery, a natural design that allows the brain to explore imagination safely, without binding it permanently to memory. Let's look closer at this gentle withdrawal of norepinephrine. By day, this neurotransmitter is your guide. It keeps you alert, helps you react, and stores information in the great library of your hippocampus. But at night, the brain makes a deliberate choice to turn that voice down. During REM sleep, norepinephrine levels drop to almost nothing. It's one of the lowest chemical points your body ever reaches. And when that happens, your brain loses the ability to form stable, long-term memories. It's as if the librarian has quietly left the room. The dream still happens. Vivid, colorful, emotional, but no one is there to write it down. So when you wake, the memory fades, not because the dream wasn't real, but because the system designed to record it was resting. Some researchers believe this is nature's protective mechanism. If we remembered every dream in detail, our waking life might become cluttered with fragments of imagination. We'd struggle to tell what was lived and what was only dreamed. So norepinephrine's absence isn't a failure, it's grace. It's the mind saying, rest now, we'll dream freely and forget softly in the morning. Interestingly, this lack of norepinephrine also explains why dreams feel emotional, but often illogical. Without it, our brain's critical systems grow quiet. Emotions surge, but structure dissolves. You might cry in a dream without knowing why, or feel deep love for someone you barely recognize. The chemistry of sleep creates an open field where emotion and imagination dance, without walls or reason. And perhaps that's what makes dreams healing. When logic sleeps, the heart can finally speak. While norepinephrine fades, another chemical rises quietly in the night, acetylcholine. If norepinephrine is the architect of logic, acetylcholine is the artist. It colors the empty canvas of your mind with light, sound, and movement. During REM sleep, acetylcholine levels soar. They energize your visual centers, your memory areas, and even your emotional core. It's what gives dreams Their striking imagery, the ability to see without eyes, to feel without touch. Imagine standing in a dream, seeing the stars shimmer above you, feeling the wind across your skin. Every sensation is born from acetylcholine's vibrant influence, but it's more than just beauty. This chemical has purpose. It activates neural circuits that help the brain reorganize memories, sift through emotions, and link experiences in creative ways. That's why dreams often mix reality and fantasy. Your brain is testing connections, rehearsing, rebuilding, exploring possibilities. Acetylcholine turns a static of random memory into meaningful story. It takes fragments, yesterday's thought, an old memory, a buried feeling, and weaves them together into one smooth, flowing vision. It's the ultimate dream weaver. But here's the paradox. While acetylcholine amplifies vividness, norepinephrine's absence means there's no stable memory trace. So you wake, feeling as though something beautiful just happened, but it slips away before you can describe it. A dream built by chemicals that were never meant to last. And that's the magic of it, the balance of these two messengers. One silenced, one singing, creates the perfect space for creativity without consequence. When you open your eyes in the morning, the stage is cleared, the orchestra quiets, and the world of waking thought returns. But somewhere deep in your mind, the echoes remain, a soft emotion, a fleeting image, a feeling you can't name. That's acetylcholine's gift. It doesn't demand to be remembered, only to be felt. So the next time you wake, with that faint sense of something beautiful slipping away, smile gently, because that was your brain, painting with light, playing with memory, and creating a dream that was never meant to stay. It existed just long enough to remind you how mysterious and miraculous your own mind truly is. Imagine your memory as a grand bridge spanning between two shores of consciousness. On one side, the present moment, fresh, bright, alive. Every sound, every thought, every heartbeat is stored briefly like footprints in sand. This is your short-term memory. Fragile, fleeting, alive only for a while. And on the far shore lies the deep archive of your mind, the long-term memory, a vast library where your life story quietly unfolds, page by page. Every morning, your mind begins to walk across that bridge, carrying the day's experiences, one by one, to be safely stored. Each memory that makes the journey becomes part of you, a pattern, a feeling, a moment remembered. But every night, something extraordinary happens. As you fall asleep, the bridge begins to fade. Its lights dim. Its structure dissolves into mist. The two shores drift apart, just slightly, but enough that the path between them is broken. This is the disconnection between short-term and long-term memory, a deliberate pause, a moment of neural silence that allows your mind to rest, reset, and dream. During the day, your hippocampus, the memory maker, is constantly active. It records events, links them to meaning, and sends them toward the cortex for storage. But this process is demanding. It consumes energy, creates noise, and ties the brain to the waking world. To truly rest, the brain must temporarily unplug. So as you drift into sleep, the communication lines between the hippocampus and the neocortex are softened, like turning down the volume on a busy conversation. This quieting prevents the chaos of new information from spilling into the deep archives. Imagine your brain as a library again, and the librarian gently closes the door at night, so no one brings in half-written stories or noisy thoughts. Inside, the lights dim, the records rest, the system resets for the next day. This disconnection isn't a malfunction, it's a form protection. It's how the brain shields your long-term memories from becoming tangled with the fleeting chaos of dreams. During REM sleep, the hippocampus still hums softly, replaying patterns, emotions, fragments of the day, but it's isolated, like a musician practicing quietly in another room. No one outside can hear the full melody. That's why dreams feel vivid while you're in them, yet vanish the moment you wake. The notes were never recorded. The bridge was never open, even as the connection fades. Something remarkable continues behind the curtain. Your brain begins a subtle rehearsal, an overnight review of what truly mattered. During deep sleep stages, tiny electrical bursts ripple through the hippocampus and cortex. They're like whispers between shelves in that dark library, checking which memories to keep and which to gently let go. The bridge may be closed for new travelers, but messengers still cross in secret. Strong memories, emotional ones, meaningful ones, are slowly transferred into long-term storage, while weak, trivial moments are quietly erased. Making room for tomorrow is an elegant balance, a nightly negotiation between keeping and forgetting. Dreams emerge from this process as fragments of memory flicker and combine, forming temporary stories out of the day's scattered pages. That's why dreams often blend real people, unreal places, and impossible logic. They're like rehearsal tapes, not the final record. Your brain is testing connections, experimenting with possibilities without permanently saving them. And when morning comes, most of those experiments dissolve. The bridge reappears. The two shores reconnect. You awaken with a clear slate, ready for new experiences, new learning, new life. Now let's pause and reflect on one of the great mysteries. Why do we forget most of our dreams? We've seen how norepinephrine fades, how acetylcholine colors our night, and how the bridge of memory gently closes. Together, these create a perfect condition for temporary experience. When you dream, your short-term memory still works. You perceive, react, and feel, but your long-term memory is almost entirely offline. It's as if your consciousness is adrift in a world with no way to anchor itself to reality. You may witness entire stories. You may love, fear, or fly, but when you wake, there's nothing for your waking mind to hold on to. This isn't failure. It's intentional design. Dreams are meant to be lived, not remembered. They're the brain's creative sketches, drawn in sand, washed away by the tide of dawn. By letting them fade, your brain preserves clarity. It separates the real from the imagined, the permanent from the passing. And yet, sometimes, a dream lingers, a fragment survives, a face, a feeling, a place that feels familiar. These rare survivors are the ones that find a tiny bridge, still standing at dawn, a brief opening where a single dream can cross into waking memory. It's fragile, accidental, and deeply human. So, why does this matter? Why should we care that our brain disconnects from itself every night? because this gentle separation is the reason we can reconnect. Each morning renewed by closing the bridge, your brain prevents emotional overload. It clears the fog of constant stimulation. It protects you from drowning in the noise of yesterday. Dreams, then, are not errors of biology. They're the poetry of maintenance. Each night, as you drift through that shimmering border between short-term and long-term thought, your brain writes and erases in perfect balance. It keeps what matters and releases what doesn't. That's why you can wake with peace in your mind, even if the night before was filled with storms. Somewhere deep inside, your neurons have already healed, rewritten, and begun again. The bridge reopens, the orchestra resumes, and life continues, clearer, lighter, and full of quiet wonder. There's a moment, a fleeting heartbeat between sleeping and waking, where you exist in both realms at once. You are neither fully dreaming, nor entirely awake, but suspended in a quiet, trembling balance. It's like standing on a mist-covered bridge, one end disappearing into the glow of dawn, the other fading into the velvet shadows of night. In that space, your thoughts are still painted with the colors of dreams, fluid, boundless, and strange. Yet somewhere, your waking mind begins to stir, searching for meaning. Try and name what it sees. This fragile bridge is the threshold of consciousness, the place where the dreamer and the thinker briefly meet. For most of us, it lasts only a few seconds. The gentle blur before the alarm clock cuts the silence. But within those seconds, the entire architecture of a dream can collapse like smoke. Your mind tries to capture it, but the more you grasp, the faster it slips away. This is the dance of transition, the fragile exchange between two states that were never meant to exist together. In the dreaming world, logic dissolves, time bends, and emotion takes the lead. In the waking world, order returns, language reawakens, and reason anchors thought. The bridge cannot hold them both for long. So as one side strengthens, the other fades. That's why your dreams vanish. The moment you open your eyes, the mind replaces one language with another, and the translation is never perfect. When you hover between waking and dreaming, your brain undergoes a rapid transformation. In REM sleep, the pons, deep in the brainstem, keeps your body still, while waves of electrical activity dance across the cortex. Your eyes flicker behind closed lids, chasing visions no one else can see. Then, slowly, as wakefulness approaches, chemical tides begin to shift. Norepinephrine and serotonin, silent during REM, rise once more. These neurotransmitters restore attention, focus, and the sense of self, the awareness of being you again. But this awakening comes at a price. When the chemicals of waking return, the chemistry of dreaming retreats. The neural circuits that create imagination and emotion give way to those that manage logic and control. In that brief overlap, the brain experiences confusion, a fleeting mismatch between two realities. That's why, for a moment, you may still see shapes in the dark, hear faint voices, or feel as though the dream lingers on your skin. This is hypnopompic consciousness, the gentle untying of the dream state. But as norepinephrine floods in, the dream circuitry quiets. The prefrontal cortex, which organizes memories and reasoning, takes command once more, and the dream world is erased layer by layer until all that remains is a faint emotional aftertaste. That fleeting sadness you sometimes feel upon waking, that half-remembered beauty, is your mind mourning a vanished world. Every so often, the bridge doesn't dissolve completely. You might wake up and still see your dream, its fragments still shimmering, its story still alive. This happens when you awaken during REM sleep, before the brain has had time to fully restore its waking chemistry. For a few moments, both realities coexist. You can remember your dream vividly, the faces, the rooms, even the exact words spoken, because your mind has not yet rebuilt its boundaries. Writers, artists, and scientists have long tried to capture this fleeting overlap. Salvador Dali would nap with a key in his hand, so that when he drifted into dream, it would fall and wake him instantly, allowing him to glimpse that borderland and sketch what he saw there. Thomas Edison used the same trick to spark ideas. He called it the twilight of inspiration, a moment when logic and imagination shook hands before parting ways. For them, the fragile bridge was a gift, a way to steal fragments of the dreaming mind before they vanished. But for most of us, the bridge closes too quickly. By the time we open our eyes, the dream has already dissolved. Like ink in water, we are left with nothing but emotion, a hint of what was once there, a feeling that we were somewhere else, someone else, for just a while. And perhaps that's enough, because if the bridge stayed open too long, the boundaries between dream and waking life might blur too deeply. We might lose the distinction between what is imagined and what is real. The brain, ever cautious, doesn't allow that. It gently lifts the drawbridge each morning, protecting us from being lost between two worlds. There is beauty in this fragile boundary. To dream is to step outside the limits of time, to live stories beyond the possible. To wake is to return, to carry with you only the softest echo of that hidden place. Each morning, you are reborn from that crossing, your mind cleansed, your emotions refreshed, your sense of self renewed. The fragile bridge does not fail you. It saves you. It ensures that dreams remain their own world, a private ocean beneath waking life, ever shifting, ever deep. You may not remember the journey, but it changes you quietly, profoundly. And as night falls again, you will return to that bridge once more, to cross it without fear, and wander freely through the infinite landscapes of the mind. Imagine your mind as a vast, glowing city. Each part of your brain is a district, some filled with motion, others alive with thought, and some forever whispering secrets in the dark. At the city's center stands the prefrontal cortex, the guardian of reason. By day, it rules with gentle discipline. It organizes your thoughts, filters your impulses, and ensures that the stories you tell yourself make sense. It's the part of you that asks, does this make sense? Is this possible? Should I say this out loud? When you're awake, the prefrontal cortex is constantly busy, editing, managing, controlling. It keeps your imagination tethered to the real world. It makes sure your decisions follow logic, your behavior fits the moment, and your mind remains anchored to reality. But as you drift towards sleep and enter REM, the stage where dreams begin to bloom, something extraordinary happens. That guardian, that tireless architect of logic and restraint, begins to dim. The prefrontal cortex slowly powers down, its activity falling quiet, its control fading like a lantern losing flame. And in that silence, your imagination awakens once the prefrontal cortex retreats. The rest of your mind begins to roam freely. Neural circuits that were once restrained by reason and structure start to fire without pattern, painting wild, impossible scenes. From the colors of memory and emotion, you might dream of flying through mountains, talking to someone who's long gone, or walking underwater without breath or fear. None of it makes sense, and yet, within the dream, it feels completely real. That's because the inner critic, the logical voice that questions reality, is asleep. Without it, your brain becomes a pure storyteller. Every symbol, every shift, flows without judgment. This is why dreams often feel like vivid art, emotionally rich, yet unbound by reason. The amygdala, the emotional core of your brain, is highly active during REM. It colors your dreams with passion, with fear, with love. Meanwhile, the visual regions of the occipital cortex light up like fireworks, turning thoughts into living pictures. And the prefrontal cortex, the cautious voice of structure, simply watches in silence. It allows chaos to take the stage, and that chaos becomes the language of the dream world. It's the one time each day when your mind can be utterly free, free from logic, free from self-consciousness, free from the boundaries of waking thought. You might wonder, why would the brain choose to turn off its most advanced, evolved part? Why let go of control? The answer lies in restoration. The waking mind is constantly managing reality. It weighs consequences, predicts outcomes, and tries to keep life in order. If that process never stopped, your brain would never rest. So, during REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex steps back, not in failure, but in grace. It allows other regions to process emotions, to rehearse possibilities, to explore without boundaries. In this freedom, the subconscious mind can repair emotional wounds, practice scenarios, and integrate lessons from the day in symbolic form. That's why dreams can be so strange, and yet so healing. They let your inner world reorganize itself without interference. It's like letting the orchestra play without a conductor. Chaotic at times, but beautiful, raw, and true. When you wake, the prefrontal cortex returns, picking up its baton again. It doesn't remember the full symphony that played overnight, but it feels the harmony it left behind. And in that subtle way, your waking mind has already been soothed, balanced, and renewed without the prefrontal cortex. Your dream self doesn't question what's happening. You can be standing in a field of stars or speaking to a reflection that breathes, and some part of you simply accepts it. This acceptance, the surrender, is not ignorance. It's trust. Trust in the world your mind creates. When freed from control, in waking life, you need reason to survive. But in dreams, you need imagination to heal. The balance between these two is what makes you human. Half logic, half wonder. Each night, your brain invites you to remember that other half, to drift beyond reason and touch the infinite. That's what happens when the prefrontal cortex turns off. It's not a loss of consciousness, but a return to the purest form of consciousness, the one that existed before words, before control, before the waking mind began to measure the world. And so, as you lie there tonight and your thoughts begin to blur, you can thank that gentle silence, the hush of logic, for allowing your imagination to breathe again. Most dreams dissolve like mist the moment we open our eyes, but some remain. They echo through the day, like faint music you can't quite stop hearing. You might remember only fragments, a face, a color, a feeling, yet they cling to you softly, persistently. Why is that? Why do some dreams vanish while others stay, shining like embers beneath the surface of waking life? The answer lies not in memory alone, but in emotion. Dreams born in deep emotion, those that stir fear, joy, grief, or love, are written in a different ink. They are carved not just in thought, but in the body's own language of feeling, and emotions linger far longer than facts. When you dream something emotionally charged, your brain doesn't just imagine the scene, it feels it. Your heartbeat changes, your breathing shifts, your nervous system reacts as if it were real. So when you wake, even if the story fades, the body remembers the echo. It's the emotional afterglow of dreaming. The reason why a single image, a single dream voice, can follow you through the day like a ghost made of feeling. Inside your brain, there's a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala, the emotional core of your mind. During waking hours, it works hand in hand with the prefrontal cortex, which interprets and manages emotions. But in REM sleep, the amygdala becomes highly active while the prefrontal cortex, the logical voice, stays quiet. This means that while you dream, your emotions are fully alive, but unchecked by reason. It's like watching a movie where the volume of feeling is turned all the way up and the rational commentary has been muted. Fear feels deeper. Love feels boundless. Loss feels absolute. Joy feels infinite. And because those emotional circuits are active, they leave real traces in your memory systems. Even if the dream itself isn't stored in detail, the feeling it evoked is recorded by the brain's emotional centers. Think of it as a kind of emotional residue, a subtle chemical signature that lingers long after the story disappears. That's why you might wake up with tears in your eyes, or with a quiet sense of peace, or longing, or joy, without remembering why. The mind forgets the words, but the heart remembers the tone. When you carry that emotional residue into waking life, it subtly influences your mood, your creativity, your energy. A peaceful dream might make the morning softer. A frightening one might leave the day tinted with unease. A joyful one may feel like sunlight still glowing beneath your skin. In a way, your dreams are silent teachers, shaping you without words, guiding your emotions toward balance. Some scientists believe that emotional dreams serve as nightly therapy. During REM sleep, the brain replays emotionally charged experiences from waking life, but in a safer, altered context. It's as if your mind says, let's look at this again, but this time without the danger. This process may explain why intense emotional dreams often occur after stressful days or during major life changes. Your subconscious is trying to make peace with what the conscious mind finds too overwhelming. By reliving emotional patterns in dreams, you can gently process them, softening their edge, releasing their weight. And when a dream lingers, it may be because that process is still unfolding. Your mind holds onto what it still needs to understand. Not all emotional dreams are heavy. Some bring comfort. A visit from a lost loved one, a moment of reunion, a sense of peace that feels more real than anything else. Many people describe these as healing dreams, where grief transforms into warmth or loneliness into connection. Science has tried to explain them as the brain's way of processing attachment and memory. But perhaps there's something deeper here, something beautifully human. Dreams give us a way to continue conversations our waking life could not finish. They allow love to speak again, even when reason cannot explain how. Whether you believe these dreams are messages from the mind or the beyond, they remind us of one simple truth: that emotion is timeless. It moves through us, in waking and sleeping life alike, weaving both into one continuous thread. And when we wake from an emotional dream, it's as if that thread is still gently wrapped around our heart, soft, invisible, but very real. So, why do emotional dreams stay with us? Because they are written in two languages, the language of mind and the language of emotion. One fades quickly, the other endures. Even when you can't recall the story, your body, your heart, and your subconscious remember the energy it left behind. This is why you might wake up with a feeling you can't explain. You might look out the window and feel nostalgia for something you don't even remember dreaming. It's your emotional brain still humming the melody your rational mind has forgotten. And maybe that's the most beautiful part of dreaming itself, that even when the images vanish, the meaning remains. Dreams remind us that emotion, not reason, is the deepest storyteller within us. They remind us that the heart, too, has a memory. Dreams are like mist caught in sunlight. The moment you turn toward the day, they begin to fade. It's strange, isn't it? That something so vivid, so emotionally real while we sleep, can vanish completely within seconds of waking. You might wake up certain you'll remember the faces, the places, the way the air felt inside that dream. But as you reach for it, the memory slips through your fingers, like smoke, like a thought unspoken. Why does it happen? Why can't the mind hold on to dreams the same way it holds a song, a word, or a story? The answer lies in how attention works, and how fragile it is. At the boundary between sleep and waking, when you dream, your brain's attention systems are tuned inward. They focus not on the outer world, but on the landscapes built within your mind. It's a form of deep internal awareness, fluid, flexible, unanchored to the senses. But when you wake, the focus shifts abruptly. Your senses flood back in. Light, sound, touch, time, gravity. And that flood of waking detail washes over the delicate memory of the dream. It's like stepping from a quiet, dark room into bright daylight. The contrast is too sudden. Your attention snaps outward, and in that instant, the inward world of dreams begins to dissolve. Only fragments remain, those few pieces that managed to anchor themselves before the flood arrived. But there's something remarkable. When you intend to remember your dreams, when you tell yourself before sleep, I will recall what I dreamed tonight, your brain changes how it handles that transition. Studies show that people who consciously focus on dream recall activate more communication between their prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, regions involved in attention and memory. It's as if the mind expecting the dream, leaves a light on inside the dark room. When morning comes, that faint light helps guide the dream back into awareness. This is why keeping a dream journal is so effective. The act of writing is not just recording memory, it's training attention. It tells the brain, this matters, keep this. Over time, your focus sharpens, your recall deepens, you begin to wake with entire dream scenes, intact and luminous. Attention is like a tightrope between two worlds, the world within and the world without. During sleep, your focus turns inward and attention moves freely through imagination. But when you wake, attention must realign with the sensory world, with body, environment, identity, time. The brain can't sustain both with equal clarity, so it chooses, it anchors itself to whichever world demands it more strongly. If the outer world rushes in too quickly, the alarm clock, the phone, the morning light, your dream slips away unnoticed. But if you stay still, keep your eyes closed, and remain quiet for a moment, you can linger in that fragile in-between space where both worlds overlap. That's the secret window, where dream recall happens best, when consciousness is awake, but attention is still turned inward. In that moment, you can pull the threads of your dream back toward the waking mind before they unravel, even within dreaming itself. Attention plays a mysterious role. Have you ever noticed how some dreams are scattered and chaotic, while others feel sharp, coherent, almost lucid? That difference is shaped by how the brain focuses during REM sleep. When attention is diffuse, the dream wanders, one image melting into another. When attention tightens, perhaps through emotion or will, the dream stabilizes. Scenes hold together longer. Awareness becomes clearer. This is the doorway to lucid dreaming, where the dreamer realizes they are dreaming. It happens when a spark of waking attention ignites inside the dream world, bridging two forms of consciousness. It's attention itself that turns dream into experience and memory into meaning. If you wish to recall your dreams more vividly, the process begins not in the morning, but in the evening. Before sleep, set a quiet intention, a gentle promise to yourself. I will notice my dreams. As you drift off, repeat it softly, as if whispering into your own mind. When you wake, remain still for a few moments. Don't move. Don't open your eyes immediately. Let your first attention turn inward toward whatever lingers, a feeling, a color, a word. Hold it softly, then write it down, no matter how small or strange. The act of writing tells your subconscious, I value this. And slowly, night after night, your mind learns that dreams are worth keeping. They begin to return to you with greater clarity, like friends once lost, finding their way back home. There's something poetic about how fragile dream memory is. It reminds us that consciousness itself is a delicate balance, a flame between darkness and light. We spend our nights in worlds we forget, and our days chasing meaning through what remains. And maybe that's how it's meant to be. If every dream stayed perfectly clear, we might lose the wonder of rediscovery, the magic of glimpsing the unknown. So we learn to live with forgetting and to cherish the rare mornings when a dream lingers long enough to whisper something true, something the waking world might have overlooked, there is a mysterious instant, a breath of time, between sleeping and waking. In that moment, you are both a dreamer and a witness. You still see fragments of the dream world, a face, a sound, a fading color, and yet your body begins to sense the air of the waking room, the light through the curtains, the weight of morning. This fragile boundary is where most dreams are lost, because the human mind, in its design, cannot fully exist in both states at once. When you are deep in REM sleep, your brain is a theater of vivid imagination, its lights glowing within, its stage alive with stories. But as you wake, those lights begin to flicker. The curtain draws back. The stage, for a brief instant, is both illuminated and fading. And then the dream collapses into silence. It is not erased, not truly forgotten, but left suspended in a form your waking memory can no longer grasp. During REM sleep, your brain chemistry is unlike anything you experience while awake. Levels of acetylcholine surge, fueling the vivid visuals, the strange narratives, the sensory richness of dreams. But the chemicals responsible for long-term memory storage, like norepinephrine and serotonin, remain quiet, almost silent. This means that while your brain is highly active, it's not in a state that favors remembering. So when you begin to wake and those chemicals start to rebalance, the timing matters greatly. If you wake suddenly, the two chemical systems, the dream state and the waking state, collide abruptly. The memory of the dream is caught in that clash, and it dissolves before it can be properly stored. But if you wake slowly, naturally, the shift is smoother. The bridge between REM and wakefulness has more time to hold. In that gentle transition, a dream's memory has a better chance of crossing over. Imagine two islands, one called dream, the other called awake. Between them runs a narrow bridge made of mist and thought. When you wake too quickly, that bridge collapses before you cross. You find yourself on the shore of waking life, but the dream remains behind, out of reach, its colors fading like echoes in fog. This is why alarms often steal our dreams. The sound, sudden and mechanical, forces the mind to leap, not drift, from one island to the other. It's an abrupt transfer, and dreams are rarely strong enough to survive the jump. But on mornings when you wake gently, to light, to soft sound, or simply to your body's own rhythm, you sometimes carry the dream with you. It's as though the bridge held for just long enough to let memory cross. Sleep moves in cycles, each about 90 minutes long, shifting from light sleep to deep sleep to REM. You dream most vividly in REM, but REM usually comes toward the end of the cycle, just before natural awakening. If you wake within that REM phase, you are more likely to remember. But if you pass into another cycle, or wake in deep sleep instead, the dream fades into the layers below awareness. The brain's timing is precise, like a tide that carries dreams to shore. And if you wait before that tide reaches land, the memory is lost beneath the waves. This is why people who wake naturally, without alarms, or those who awaken several times during REM, often report more vivid dreams. Their consciousness touches that edge, where memory can still reach across. Imagine two mornings. In the first, your alarm rings sharply. You open your eyes quickly, Sit up, and your mind rushes to the tasks of the day. The dream you had just moments ago, so clear, so strange, is gone. It lingers only as a feeling, a ghost of thought. Now imagine the second morning. There is no alarm, just the gradual light of dawn, pressing softly against your eyelids. You stir gently, still half in the dream. You don't open your eyes yet. You stay still, feeling the warmth of the bed, the rhythm of your breath. And in that quiet, images return, faces, words, sensations. The dream unfolds like a memory. You are reassembling piece by piece. You haven't done anything special, only allowed your mind to cross the bridge slowly. That is the difference between forgetting and remembering. There's also a deeper truth here. When you wake with awareness, you give space for the mind to notice itself. You might whisper, "What was I just dreaming?" And in that question, you reach inward. That moment of quiet attention helps recover the delicate fragments still floating in your mind. But if your first thoughts are of the outside world, messages, noise, movement, your awareness moves outward and the inner landscape fades. So remembering dreams is not just about biology. It's about presence. It's about allowing stillness in the fragile seconds after waking. Every time you wake, your mind performs one of nature's most graceful shifts from the deep sea of imagination to the surface of reason. And though dreams often vanish, in that crossing, their disappearance tells us something profound. It reveals that memory, awareness, and consciousness are not fixed. They flow. They are tides, moving through the landscapes of the brain. And perhaps forgetting our dreams is not a failure, but a design, a gentle reminder that not everything the mind creates is meant to be held. Some things are meant to be felt and then released, like whispers that drift away. As morning light touches the eyes, there's something unnatural about being pulled from a dream too quickly. You're floating weightless through the world your mind has built, a world stitched from emotion, memory, and imagination, when suddenly a sound intrudes, a buzz, a ring, a tone designed not to soothe, but to startle. Your dream stops mid-sentence, the story unfinished, and you open your eyes, heart racing just a little. It's a jarring transition, and your brain isn't ready for it. When we sleep, especially during REM, our brains are deep in delicate chemical balance. Norepinephrine is quiet, acetylcholine is bright, and the circuits of memory are tuned to imagination, not recording. An alarm, especially a sudden, loud one, snaps the brain from one state to another too fast. Like yanking a record from a player mid-song, the last notes of the dream, its voices, its colors, its meaning, are still spinning inside your mind, but the machine has already stopped. That's why when you wake this way, you often feel fragments, faces that fade, sentences you can't quite finish, the emotional afterglow of a dream you can't name. The suddenness of the alarm doesn't just end the dream, it prevents the memory of it from fully transferring to wakefulness, because in those first moments, your mind is busy catching up, flooding with daylight awareness, restoring motor control, regaining sense of self and space. There's no quiet room left for the dream to whisper itself into memory, and so it slips away, silently, completely. Each time we're awakened suddenly, whether by alarm, by phone, or by noise from the world outside, we lose more than a dream. we lose a rhythm. Sleep has cycles, delicate waves that build and fade through the night. Deep sleep, light sleep, REM, all part of one grand pattern, like tides on a moonlit ocean. When we interrupt those cycles, the body doesn't just awaken, it stumbles. If you ever felt groggy after an abrupt alarm, you've experienced something called sleep inertia. That heavy, disoriented feeling, when the mind hasn't yet found its footing, between dreaming and consciousness. During REM, your brain is full of story and emotion. When you wake suddenly from that depth, your neurons are still firing in dream patterns, their rhythm out of sync with daylight logic. That's why dreams fade fast. Your conscious brain tries to recalibrate, and in the process, it clears the canvas too quickly. It's like wiping away a chalkboard before realizing there was something beautiful written there. Over time, chronic sleep interruptions, too many alarms, too little rest, can weaken your ability to remember dreams altogether because your brain begins to associate REM, not with completion, but with disturbance. It learns that this phase never ends naturally, never transitions smoothly, and so, subconsciously, it may reduce how vividly you dream, or how much energy it devotes to building long narratives. In essence, your dreaming mind starts to protect itself by dreaming lighter, shorter, or less memorably, a quiet adaptation, but a loss nonetheless. There is, however, a way to repair this, to reteach the body and mind that waking can be gentle and memory can be preserved. It begins with how you rise. Instead of alarms that shout, use sound that invite, soft chimes, gentle tones, or music that fades in gradually. Better still, wake to natural light. Light tells your brain that the world is stirring, that dawn is here, and the transition can begin slowly. When light reaches your closed eyes, it signals your pineal gland to ease melatonin levels, allowing the mind to drift naturally toward awareness. You wake not with panic, but with curiosity, and that difference changes everything. If you can allow yourself just 1 or 2 minutes to remain still after waking. Don't reach for the phone. Don't rush to move. Lie quietly with eyes still closed and ask softly, what was I just dreaming? You may find that images come back, not all at once, but like fragments of light returning through mist. In that pause, your dream's memory can cross the fragile bridge from REM to waking life. Some people even train their bodies to wake naturally after a full cycle by sleeping regular hours or setting an alarm that gently fades in after 90-minute intervals. This honors the rhythm of the brain. Instead of breaking it, it allows your consciousness to surface slowly, bringing with it whatever stories the night created. In the quiet mornings that follow, you might begin to notice how much easier it becomes to hold on to those dreams, not because they've changed, but because you have. You've learned to wake with care, to listen, to give the dream time to speak, and in doing so, you rediscover what the modern world often forgets. That waking up can be as sacred, as mysterious, as a dream itself. When you wake from a dream, you are standing on a bridge made of mist. Behind you, the dream still echoes. Voices, faces, colors. A world dissolving as light begins to rise. And before you, the waking world waits. Clear, bright, logical, demanding your attention. Most people cross that bridge without stopping. They move quickly, and the dream world vanishes behind them. But if you pause, if you stand still for just a few seconds longer, something extraordinary happens. You can reach back and bring part of the dream with you. That's the essence of dream journaling. It's not only about writing. It's about catching something delicate, something that fades if not held gently. When you write immediately after waking, you tell your brain, this matters. This is worth remembering. In that single act, you begin to train your memory, to strengthen the fragile bridge between dreaming and waking awareness. Dreams that would have vanished within seconds begin to stay longer. They take shape, gain texture, become stories you can revisit. And over time, this small ritual changes not just how you remember dreams, but how you experience them. Dream journaling works because it engages the brain's attention and memory systems at their most receptive moment, just as they are shifting between REM and wakefulness. In REM sleep, your mind creates vivid narratives, but the hippocampus, which stores long-term memory, is only partially active. When you wake slowly, those dream fragments linger briefly in short-term memory. If you write them down immediately, you convert them into something solid, a record your waking brain can process and store. Think of it as catching butterflies. Each word you write is a net that saves a fragment of the night's imagination before it flies away. Scientific studies have shown that people who keep dream journals recall significantly more dreams than those who don't, not because they dream more, but because their awareness changes. Their brains learn a new pattern, a new expectation. Each night before sleep, they know they'll be writing in the morning. That quiet expectation creates a subtle form of attention during sleep, a signal that says, these dreams matter. As a result, more dreams surface at dawn, more fragments are retrieved, and memory strengthens like a muscle. The very act of journaling teaches your mind to remember itself. It also deepens emotional understanding. Writing helps you reconnect to the feelings carried within a dream. Fear, joy, loss, wonder. When you describe them, you allow your waking consciousness to integrate them gently, to learn from them without being overwhelmed. So the dream journal isn't only a notebook, it's a mirror between two forms of you, the sleeper and the seeker, the dreamer and the observer. The most powerful part of dream journaling is not the paper, not the words, but the ritual, the gentle rhythm that teaches your mind to move with intention. Before sleep, keep your journal close, on your nightstand, with a pen waiting quietly beside it. As you lie down, close your eyes and say softly, I will remember my dreams. You don't have to force it. Just plant the thought like a seed in still water. Then when morning comes, try not to move immediately. Keep your eyes closed. Stay still and reach inward. What do you feel? What images linger? Is there a sound, a place, a person still waiting in your memory? Write it down, even if it's only a single word, a color, a sentence fragment, a feeling, because sometimes that small fragment is the doorway to the rest of the dream. As you write, you'll notice something remarkable. More details return. The way the light looked, the emotion beneath the story, the subtle connection between scenes. It's as if your subconscious, seeing your care, begins to trust you with more. Night after night, your dreams grow richer. They meet you halfway, and soon you begin to notice a change, not only in how you remember dreams, but in how you see yourself. You'll start to feel that the boundary between dreaming and waking isn't a wall at all, but a window, a place where awareness flows. Both ways. The more you write, the more open that window becomes. You start to notice symbols, patterns, themes that echo across nights. Your subconscious begins to speak in a language you recognize, a language of images, intuition, and emotion. And one quiet morning, you may open your eyes, pen in hand, and realize something magical. You no longer just remember your dreams. You understand them. Every dreamer's mind is a world of its own. No two brains sleep the same way. No two nights unfold with the same rhythm. Some people drift easily into deep, dreamless sleep, their nights smooth, still uninterrupted. Others hover more lightly on the surface, moving in and out of REM, their dreams rising often, their awareness brushing the edge of waking. And so some awaken with entire stories still glowing in their thoughts, while others awaken to quiet, as though the night never spoke to them at all. But this difference isn't a sign of something wrong. It's simply variation, the unique signature of each sleeping mind. Researchers have found that high dream recallers, those who remember dreams almost every morning, show distinct patterns in their brain activity. They tend to wake more frequently during the night, often at the end of REM cycles. These brief awakenings, so small they may go unnoticed, create openings, windows for dreams to cross into memory. In contrast, low recallers sleep more deeply and continuously. Their REM cycles end naturally, but without that short moment of consciousness needed to save the dream. The dream may be vivid, even meaningful, but without that bridge, it fades into the dark sea of the subconscious. So, remembering dreams depends not on how much we dream, but how we wake. There are also deeper traits, emotional, psychological, and even creative, that shape how vividly we recall the dreams we dream. People with higher levels of imagination and introspection often report more dream recall. Their minds, even while awake, linger more naturally in the landscapes of thought and feeling. Writers, artists, musicians, people who spend their days moving between imagination and reality, tend to keep that door open at night as well. Their attention doesn't fully seal shut when they fall asleep. Instead, it flows freely. And so, when morning comes, they can trace their steps back into the dream world they've just left. Emotion plays a role too. Those who experience strong feelings, wonder, anxiety, love, awe, tend to have more memorable dreams because emotion marks a memory. It stamps it, telling the brain, this matters. Dreams that stir emotion are more likely to survive the transition into waking life. And then there's attention itself, that gentle skill we spoke of earlier. Those who think about their dreams, who keep journals, who simply care about remembering, begin to strengthen the pathways that link REM experiences to conscious memory. Over time, their dream recall improves dramatically. It's not a mystery. It's training. It's intention. Your brain learns what you value, and it responds by offering you more of it. Still, there's beauty in both kinds of sleepers. Those who remember every detail live half their lives in worlds unseen. explorers of inner space. But those who sleep deeply and forget may find peace and stillness in the surrender of the mind to pure, unremembered rest. Neither is better. Both are necessary. In the vast tapestry of human consciousness, and even within a single person, the balance shifts. Stress, diet, age, medication, the amount of light in your room, all of these can tilt the scales toward more or fewer dreams remembered. When life is calm, dreams may become softer, fading before morning. But when life is vivid, emotional, uncertain, dreams sharpen, and the mind records more of them. The difference lies in how deeply your consciousness dips below the surface each night. So, if you forget your dreams often, don't see it as absence. See it as stillness. Your brain is resting deeply, doing its quiet repair work, renewing the mind for the day ahead. And if your dreams are frequent and bright, cherish them. They are messages from the same mind, just speaking in a different language. Every dreamer walks their own terrain. Some wake to 1,000 stories. Some wake to silence. But all share the same wonder, that every night, behind closed eyes, the universe of the mind begins again, long before modern neuroscience, long before the language of REM and neurons and memory. Humans were already wondering why their dreams faded with the light of dawn. In ancient Egypt, dreams were sacred messages sent by gods, ancestors, or the divine world. The Egyptians believed that forgetting a dream meant missing a warning or a blessing. To guard against this, they kept dream books beside their beds, scrolls that listed symbols and their meanings. If you dreamed of a bird flying east, it might mean fortune. If you dreamed of a broken vase, it could mean loss. But if you woke and remembered nothing, the silence itself was a message that the gods had chosen not to speak that night. In ancient Greece, Aristotle wondered whether dreams were caused by physical sensations, by the body itself whispering to the sleeping mind. Hippocrates thought dreams could reveal illness because the body spoke truth when the mind was silent. And yet others, like Plato, believed dreams were glimpses of the soul's true reality, something higher, something beyond the reach of our waking logic. Even then, people noticed how fragile dream memory was. The Greeks said dreams dissolved because they belonged to a lighter realm, a world not built to last in daylight. Across the world, in the temples of India, the Upanishads describe dreaming as one of the 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and transcendence. Dreams were not seen as mere illusions, but as windows, places where the soul wandered freely. To forget them was not failure, but part of the mystery, a reminder that some truths can only be felt, not remembered. As centuries passed, dreams slowly shifted from sacred to scientific. In the 19th century, Sigmund Freud began exploring the hidden architecture of dreams. He called them the royal road to the unconscious. To Freud, forgetting a dream was not random. It was repression, a defense mechanism, the mind's way of protecting itself from thoughts or desires too painful to face. Carl Jung, his student, saw dreams differently. He believed they were messages from the collective unconscious, symbols carrying wisdom from the deeper self. When we forget them, Jung thought, it isn't because they are unimportant, but because the conscious mind isn't yet ready to understand them. Then came the scientists, EEG machines, sleep labs, electrodes. revealing that dreams arise in REM sleep when the brain's electrical activity resembles that of wakefulness. Researchers discovered that during REM, the prefrontal cortex, the logical, memory-driven part of the brain, is largely inactive, and so dreams may form, but the system that records them is offline. Science, in a way, confirmed what ancient mystics already sensed, that dreams belong to a realm between remembering and forgetting, between the physical and the mysterious. Even today, neuroscientists describe dream recall as a dance between activation and amnesia, a balance between emotion, attention, and timing. And so we find ourselves here in an age where data meets wonder, where electrodes and myth whisper the same story in different languages. Science tells us that neurotransmitters like norepinephrine drop to their lowest levels during REM sleep, making memory encoding difficult. Yet culture tells us that dreams vanish because they were never meant to be kept, only experienced, like music that fades when the song ends. Maybe both are true. Maybe forgetting dreams is nature's way of protecting the waking mind from being overwhelmed while still giving the soul a nightly space to play, to heal, to wander across history, from the temples of Egypt to the labs of modern neuroscience. Humans have searched for meaning in forgetting, and perhaps the answer isn't about loss at all. Perhaps it's about balance, between knowing and not knowing, between the seen and the unseen. Dream forgetting may be our mind's quiet rhythm, a nightly letting go, a surrender to impermanence. When morning comes and the dream fades like mist, we're left not with the story, but with the feeling, soft lingering, like the memory of a melody we once heard, but can no longer hum. That's the quiet beauty of dreams. They exist to vanish, leaving behind only the trace of wonder itself. Perhaps forgetting dreams is not a failure of memory, but an act of mercy. Every night, our brains weave vast tapestries of sensation and story. Strange worlds, vivid emotions, impossible events. We live entire lives in those moments, lives that vanish with the dawn. And maybe they must vanish. Imagine if you remembered every dream, every version of yourself, every fleeting fear, every impossible scene. Your waking life would overflow with fragments, each demanding meaning, each blending with your real memories, until you couldn't tell which was which. The mind, already balancing the complexities of daily life, will become burdened, confused. Forgetting dreams, then, might be the mind's way of protecting itself, keeping the world of night separate from the world of day. Neuroscientists often describe this as a form of cognitive housekeeping. During REM sleep, your brain sifts through memories, emotions, and impressions, sorting, testing, and discarding. Dreams are the byproducts of this process. Creative sparks, emotional rehearsals, tiny experimental worlds. And when morning comes, the mind clears away the temporary scaffolding, keeping only what is useful, what is safe, what belongs to the waking self. The rest drifts away like mist. It is forgetting, but also it is cleansing. Our dreams are often intense. They stir emotion, joy, sorrow, desire, fear, and they do so vividly, almost viscerally. Scientists have found that during REM sleep, the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, is highly active, while the logical prefrontal cortex is quiet. This means that in dreams, we feel deeply, but we don't analyze. It's a kind of emotional theater where our brain plays out unresolved feelings, safely and silently, and forgetting the dream afterward may serve a crucial role. It prevents those feelings from bleeding into the next day, from coloring our waking mood with echoes of things that never happened. If you've ever woken from a nightmare, feeling uneasy but unsure why, you felt this process in motion. Your brain releases the feeling, but erases the story. It's a reset, a quiet emotional detox. Some researchers believe that this very forgetting is what allows the mind to maintain its emotional balance. It's as if each dream is a rehearsal, a simulation, where your brain works through stress and emotion, but then wipes the stage clean so that waking life can begin fresh. Like the ocean's waves, dreams rise and break, then fade, so that the shoreline of consciousness is smooth again by morning. In a deeper, more philosophical way, forgetting dreams teaches us something about impermanence. The human mind often clings to thoughts, to worries, to memories we hold tightly, even to things that cause us pain. Dreams remind us that not everything is meant to be kept. Some experiences exist only for the moment, beautiful, fleeting, and gone. When we awaken, the mind releases its nighttime stories, like releasing petals into a stream, and that act of letting go might be essential to our peace. It allows the boundary between self and shadow to remain clear, between imagination and reality, between what feels true and what is true. From a scientific view, this separation prevents memory overload. From a poetic one, it preserves the clarity of our days. Both tell the same story, that forgetting dreams is a form of protection, a gentle mechanism designed by evolution to keep our waking minds from drowning in the vast oceans of the subconscious. And yet, even as they fade, dreams leave behind their traces, subtle shifts in mood, tiny bursts of creativity, a strange idea that glows quietly. Throughout the day, they disappear, but they leave their warmth behind, like the memory of a candle after the flame has gone out. Perhaps that's the purpose all along, to touch us softly and then to let us go. When you wake from a dream, there's a moment, a fleeting, delicate instant, where you're not quite sure which world you're in. The dream still glows faintly, its colors vivid, its emotions real, and yet it begins to fade, like the last light of dusk. That boundary, that fragile threshold between sleeping and waking, is where the true mystery of consciousness lives. Scientists often describe consciousness as awareness itself, the ability to perceive, to feel, to know that you exist. But when we dream, that awareness doesn't disappear. It simply changes form. In dreams, you are still you, and yet not quite. You feel, you think, you act, but the world around you is made of imagination, not matter. The dreaming mind shows us that consciousness doesn't depend entirely on reality, that our sense of self can exist without the external world at all. In REM sleep, your body is still, your senses are muted, yet your mind creates entire universes, filled with sound, light, memory, and emotion. If that isn't consciousness, then what is it? Maybe dreaming reveals a deeper truth, that consciousness is not a simple on or off state, but a spectrum, a flowing continuum, from deep sleep to dreaming, to wakefulness, to meditation. Our awareness is constantly shifting, changing color and tone, like sunlight moving through clouds. And maybe the reason we forget dreams is because each level of consciousness speaks a slightly different language. When we wake, we leave one realm behind, and the memories of that world can't fully cross the border. Dreams are like mirrors, showing us the hidden movements of our mind. They mix our memories with our emotions, our hopes with our fears, our past with our imagination, and when they vanish upon waking, they leave behind subtle traces, insights, feelings, intuitions that shape us without words. Some philosophers believe that this blending and forgetting is part of what makes consciousness so fluid, so mysterious, because we are not static beings. We are ever-changing patterns of thought and experience. In the waking world, our consciousness is anchored by time, by body, by space. But in the dream world, those anchors are gone. We drift freely, and the self becomes something softer, something less defined. And so when we wake, the two versions of ourselves, the dreamer and the awakened, can't completely merge. The memory fades because it belongs to a version of you that exists only in that other realm. It's like trying to remember a language you only speak while asleep. Yet, this vanishing act isn't a loss. It's a reminder that our consciousness is far wider than our waking mind allows us to see. The forgotten dream is proof of how deep our awareness runs. So deep that even we cannot follow it to its end. Perhaps our consciousness is like an ocean. The surface, the waking mind, is bright, busy, filled with light. Waves of thought rise and fall, each representing our daily experiences. But beneath that surface lies a vast, quiet depth, the subconscious, where dreams are born. When we sleep, we sink into those deeper waters. We drift through hidden currents of memory and imagination, touching truths that the daylight cannot reach. And when we awaken, we rise again. But we cannot carry all that water with us. It would drown the waking mind. So the dreams remain below, in the deep, where they continue to swirl. In silence, forgetting them, then, is not erasure. It is survival, a balance, a design. It allows us to live in both worlds, the world of dreams and the world of waking, without confusion between the two. Perhaps this is what makes consciousness so extraordinary, its ability to exist across realms, to shape worlds within and without, and to forget just enough, to stay whole. The dream fades, but the wonder remains. The forgetting itself is part of the story, a sacred rhythm where night gives to day and imagination gives to awareness. And maybe that's all consciousness really is, a cycle of remembering and forgetting, of awakening and dissolving, forever breathing between worlds. So as you lie there now, eyes heavy, mind quiet, remember that forgetting is its own kind of wisdom. It keeps your waking mind light, your spirit rested, your dreams safely folded in the soft corners of the night. And as your thoughts drift again into that ocean, know that you're part of something vast, a mystery that has no end, only depth. Sleep peacefully, dear dreamer, and until we meet again, in waking or in wonder, good night and goodbye.